This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV Hindu.
An exercise in futility. That's what NDTV Hindu finds out at the proposed Greenfield Airport at Sriperumbudur.
According to civil aviation norms, no spot generating any kind of bird activity can lie within 13 kilometers of an airport.
And not just environmentalists, even the Indian Navy may object to AII plan. Many Navy veterans unhappy with the project right next to a naval airbase.
Is perhaps asking for disaster to happen.
Jayalalitha's election bandwagon continues to roll. She gets 2 new parties on board, all in a bid to wean away Dalits and Muslims from the DMK. Police finally arrest the man who killed his lover after being denied sex by her. Entire locality of Selayur in shock. And it's raining mosquitoes pre-monsoon in Chennai.
The Stramon train is 3 months we are proposed to complete that work.
A very good evening. It's 9 on the clock. You're watching the late night news with me, Sai Manish. Those were the details, in fact, details of which we would get you later in the bulletin. Let's have a look at what else is making headlines in India and across the world. As Sonia Gandhi warns of action against corruption, senior government officials take over the preparation of key areas ahead of the Commonwealth Games. Mamata Banerjee spews venom in Parliament, says she might be a minister, but she's just a clerk in the railways.
Railway Ministry is trying their best. I am nobody. I am just working as cleric clerk.
Sharad Pawar says it's not possible to implement what the Supreme Court says he can't give grain for free to the poor. Pakistan should accept the aid offered by India. That's Obama's message to Pakistan. And well, meet Roger Hedra, the Robin Hood. Check out this super stunt on the bulletin. But do not try this at home. Well, a lot of stories coming your way in news tonight. Now, apart from all the uproar, the political focus and the battle over the land acquisition for the proposed Greenfield Airport in Sriperumbudur, there are doubts being raised by civil aviation experts over the very sensibility and practicality of having another airport for Chennai, that too in that very site. And this after the Airport Authority of India has given its thumbs up for the airport at Sriperumbudur. NDTV Hindu goes to ground zero to check out the feasibility of this project.
It's not just the fury of the people and political infighting that are causing turbulences for the proposed Greenfield Airport in Chennai. There are safety issues involved in the very idea of constructing an airport at this spot in Sriperumbudur. First, it's the proximity to the Vedantangal Bird Sanctuary. According to civil aviation norms, no spot generating any kind of bird activity can lie within 13 kilometers of an airport. Now, the Vedantangal Bird Sanctuary does not lie in that 13-kilometer radius, but experts say that the migratory path of the birds which flock to Vedantangal during winter is such that it will almost definitely pass through the Sriperumbudur area, which also houses a lake. And that is not just a safety issue, but could also lead to a potential ecological disaster. Moreover, there are 3 nearby installations which will create a problem for an airport at this site. This is where the new airport is to be constructed. On one side is the Arakonam Naval Air Base INS Rajali, and on the other side is the Tambram Air Force Base. If the present Chennai airport remains, then that will also be near the site. Experts say these air facilities near the planned airport will only allow a narrow corridor for flights to land and could lead to accidents. The Airports Authority of India has given a go-ahead to this project, but experts rubbish this green signal.
I think it is just something done to please someone in power. It is not based on safety or what is required as per ICAO standards.
The International Civil Aviation Organization is yet to summon its pre-feasibility report, which has been due for over a year now, perhaps indicating that the site is not safe enough for an airport. Ramanathan for NDTV Hindu.
But ladies and gentlemen, environment is just one part of it. And NDTV Hindus, as Ramanathan also gives you a lowdown on why the Indian Navy and the Air Force will be terribly uncomfortable with the idea of having the Greenfield Airport right next to their operational domain. Take a look.
There are three major hurdles when it comes to the location of the proposed airport, and that due to the existence of the three air bases near the proposed site. The INS Rajali Naval Air Base to its west, the Tambram IAF base to its southeast, and the Chennai Airport to its east. Now, the first hurdle, the evident lack of foresight by the Airports Authority of India, might have rubbed the Indian Armed Forces the wrong way. This new airport is right next to INS Rajali, a key base from where the Navy's Tupolovs, the soon-to-be inducted Poseidons, keep an eye over the entire littoral area of the Bay of Bengal and the Indian Ocean. That means naval air controllers will have to constantly communicate with their civilian counterparts to prevent trespassing. Now, the second big hurdle, the aviation experts have pointed out, and something you would be easily able to comprehend, is the clutter effect. Flights approaching and landing from the proposed Greenfield Airport have no clear front. This translates into constant communication between air traffic controllers and not just the Navy and the airport, but also the two airports itself. Now, add to that the no-fly zone over the Tambram Air Force Station and the lack of infrastructure and technology to deal with such heightened flight activity. Now, what does this mean for pilots? The third hurdle. The scenario is as nightmarish for pilots as it is for air traffic controllers. With a naval airbase on one side, the bustling commercial airport and a no-fly zone on another, and thus little room to play around, the pilot will have to do an extremely steep descent. Landing is accomplished by slowing down and descending to the runway gradually. This might not be possible here, thus increasing the chances of human error or equipment failure leading to accidents. With Simonish Ramanathan for NDTV Hindu.
Well, that's as simple as it gets, but to get you a perspective, we also spoke to, in fact, Commodore Wasan, who is an ex-serviceman, of course, and this is what he had to say.
We already had many near misses in Bombay, close to Delhi, close to Bangalore, and all this is happening because of the way we manage our airspace. So I think we should not be complicating matters for the people who are in the business. We should make it easy for them. This is possible today, of course, with the technology levels that are available, plus a certain amount of operational procedures that are integrated. But I think that from the naval point of view, we also know that they are going to replace the Tu-142M aircraft, which is presently located in Rajali, with a better Boeing-based aircraft called the Poseidon. P8I is what they are saying. And when these aircraft are located there, they will initially require a phenomenal amount of airspace for training the initial lot of crew in just circuits and landing. So circuits, landing and takeoff are critical operations which requires enormous amount of airspace for a big aircraft like that, which has a large turning radius. So in this climate, if you also have other civil aircraft flying in and out of Sri Perumbudur, then you know that you are creating scenarios and situations for people who are involved in this business of flying. And also remember that Rajali has helicopter training school, and they train something like 15 to 20 pilots in each batch from the Navy, from the Coast Guard. And these people require dedicated airspace management to ensure that they are become proficient in landings, takeoffs and carrying out various procedures which will equip them to fly helicopters not only from shore but also from ships. So the Navy has critical requirements, and to introduce another airfield and also load up the airspace with additional aircraft is perhaps asking for disaster to happen.
Well, also India's best-known aviation expert, Captain Mohan Ranganathan, told NDTV Hindu that the Airports Authority of India failed to take into account even the basics of aviation.
After all, they gave the green signal for Mangalore and Calicut, which in my opinion do not conform to many standards required by ICAO. And we've already had one major accident in Mangalore. So AI gives the clearance based on their political patronage. So they only take the decision to please someone who's in power. I would rather go by what ICAO gives. If they give the green signal, then I would say that it conforms to standards. If we look at the ICAO requirements, they need only about 4 miles, 5 miles separation between aircrafts for operation. What we find in Chennai and several airports in India, the radar controllers keep you at least 10 to 15 miles apart. So you're not even utilizing the airspace that is available today. One of the reasons is that the way the runway occupancy is handled. The runways are not maintained to the required standards. So because of that, the aircraft stay a little longer since the braking action is poor. So if they had the runways designed properly and maintained properly, you can speed up the operation in Chennai to double the capacity, and you can make do with a single runway.
Well, that was in fact Mohan Ranganathan talking to us earlier. That's one story we would be following as the armed forces get even more comfortable with the Airports Authority of India going really aggressive with land acquisition and feasibility studies to see this greenfield airport in Sri Perumdur up at any cost. Moving on now, AIADMK General Secretary Jayalalitha has reasons to be cheerful ahead of 2011 Assembly elections. The Iftar party she has hosted on Wednesday has won 2 new allies for her. The Puthiya Tamilagam Chief Krishna Swamy and the MMK Chief M.H. Jawaharlal participated in the event, which confirmed, of course, earlier reports that they are now part of the AIADMK-led alliance. Now, these 2 parties were with the DMK until 2009.
We will be very happy to be part of the ADMK-led alliance to rid of the DMK rule, which the continuance of which will not be good for the democracy itself, because simply by using the currency, they think they will win the elections. This has to be put an end to. It is almost a family rule which is prevailing in Tamil Nadu. The people have been taken for a ride. The law and order machinery has failed miserably, and definitely the Tamil Nadu people are yearning for a change.
Going for joint action with the ADMK on people's issues. For example, on April 27th, against price rise, we have joined to raise our voice. There is a hartal all over the country, including Tamil Nadu also. On July 5th also, on the same issue, we have joined hands with the ADMK, MDMK, CPI, other parties to observe hartal on July 5th. On people's issues, we are coordinated with them.
Well, moving on to a shocking case of petty crime in the city. Now, illicit relationships are again proving to be a motive in heinous crimes across the city. Not only is this phenomena spread across the upper echelons of the society, the page 3 ones, but as the police found out today, a construction worker killed his lover because she refused to have sex with him. Take a look.
Silence fell over this construction site in Selayur after a 40-year-old labourer named Mary was stabbed to death by a 37-year-old man who worked at the same site. The suspected killer, Radhakrishnan, who was drunk at the time, stabbed Mary in the neck when she resisted his sexual advances. A police team interviewed more than 100 people known to Mary and a suspected murderer before a breakthrough came in the investigation. Radhakrishnan was arrested in Arani and sent to the prison in Pudal near Chennai. Police say he was already wanted for involvement in an illicit liquor case in 2004. Married twice, his first wife committed suicide and his second wife died from illness. He has 3 children. Police say his victim Mary is the mother of 5 children and she had left her husband many years ago. In Chennai, Salim for NDTV Hindu.
Well, and joining us live right now from our newsroom is our crime reporter Salim, who's been tracking various such cases across the city over a period of time. Now, Salim, the Chennai police have done a pretty good job with handling crime, let's not forget that. But such crimes of passion, be it in any strata of the society, keep surfacing. Now, is there an air of resignation creeping in now among the police forces?
Manish, when we analyze the reason behind most of the murder cases in the city, it is due to illicit affair, the first motivating factor. The second motivating factor being money. Now, in the cases of death due to illicit affair, the police say it's nothing but the worst outcome of a man's negative emotions. Even in this case, Radhakrishnan was very much puzzled about whether Mary will continue the relationship or will break up, which ultimately led Radhakrishnan to murder Mary. Now, even in the same way, the police are puzzled.
Right, Salim there with all the details. Thanks a lot, Salim, for joining us. We will be tracking more such crimes, petty crimes and big ones. That's Salim for you. Now moving on, if you've been enjoying the unseasonal showers in Chennai, remember there's a flip side too. The city has been reeling under deadly attacks from mosquitoes, whose peak breeding season too has begun slightly earlier this year though. Many government departments have dug up roads in several parts of the city to lay new drainage pipes or electricity cables. And as Pratiksha Ramakumar reports, these trenches get filled up when it rains, a perfect setting for these winged mosquitoes, or these winged missiles rather, to breed. Take a look.
Quite an eyesore at a posh colony in Chennai. The residents here have sleepless nights. That's because of these mosquito breeding grounds. For about 2 months, residents of Alwarpet and Mylapore have had to put up with the obstacle courses outside their residences as roads have been dug up by the drainage board and the electricity department officials.
Prithivani, Bawa Street இதெல்லாம் வந்து ஸ்ட்ராமா ட்ரெயின் கன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ஷனுக்காக நோண்டி இருக்கிறோம். இப்போ மற்ற இடத்துல இந்த லெஸ்ஸெர்ச் ரோடு, தேசிகா ஸ்ட்ரீட்டு, இன் அண்ட் அரௌண்ட் தட் ஸ்ட்ரீட்ஸ் எல்லாம் வந்து டிஎன்இபி கேபிள் லேயிங்காக பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. இந்த ஸ்ட்ராமா ட்ரெயினுக்காக தோணு மட்டும் ஒரு 3 monthsல we are proposed to complete that work.
Now that's an alarming statement. In less than 3 months, the northeast monsoon will set in. You can imagine how these uncovered trenches will be transformed into huge breeding grounds for mosquitoes, quite literally at your doorsteps.
There's been water filling up every time a shower happens, and then there are lots of mosquitoes. And though we live on the 2nd floor, we do have a problem right now.
Yeah, a lot of mosquitoes also everywhere there. Previously, lot of smokes, the mosquito smokes were spread. Now nobody is coming here. Lot of mosquito bites also there.
Doctors have witnessed a spurt in the number of patients suffering from mosquito-related diseases.
Of late, there had been a big outbreak. There have been quite a lot of patients coming in with fever and chills, rigors, and tests have shown a lot of positive for malarial cases. And dengue symptoms are also on the rise now. So there have been quite a lot of patients in the last maybe 1 to 2 weeks of dengue and malaria in the city.
The Chennai Corporation has assured NDTV Hindu that stagnant water will be drained out and fogging done. But that's just a symptomatic treatment of the problem. The least government agencies can do is to plan development work ahead of the monsoon and not manufacture mosquitoes themselves. In Chennai, Pratiksha Ramakumar, NDTV Hindu.
Well, quite literally raining mosquitoes throughout Chennai. Now breaking the trend of narrow range bound flat trading, the markets looked really buoyant today. They carried forward yesterday's momentum and hit a 30-month high. The Sensex climbed nearly 2,000 points, recording an up move of almost 406 points in the last 2 trading sessions. The Nifty meanwhile has crossed the 5,500 level mark and is looking strong despite weaknesses in the American and European markets. The Sensex closed at 18,455. The Nifty closed at 5,540. Banking space, in fact, were the ones. Banking sector was the one which recorded smart gains today. The jury is still out though on the sustainability of this upward move. A section of analysts view this as a short-term rally. Well, for more on this, we're being joined by our business reporter Ashmit Tej Kumar, live from our newsroom. Ashmit, a good day today for the markets. Looking good, but the sustainability factor will be something that will be bothering analysts all around.
Absolutely, Manish, you've put the finger right on the nerve there. That is the factor there. Today, although we saw a lot of buying action, and as you mentioned in the banking space, along with that, the FMCG segment was also a very strong player today. A lot of buying action that we saw today combined with positive triggers, such as today was Thursday, so the inflation figures came out and it was marginally below expectations, so definitely that was a boost. Plus there were factors such as global triggers, and with the liquidity coming really with a very liquid situation in the global markets right now, the FII is invested heavily, so that comes on the back of a lot of uncertainties that we were seeing in the market. So people were getting impatient about where the markets are headed. So I guess after yesterday's and today's session, where there was an addition of 406 points on the Sensex, we can definitely see some direction as to where the markets are headed. But as you pointed out, the markets, the opinion is still divided. And that comes on the back of a lot of mixed global cues that we have been getting. There has been mixed cues from the global markets. So that's one area of concern. And moreover, people are saying that talking from a longer perspective, it will take some time before the markets can retrace their steps back to the 2007 highs. Although there are analysts who say that it is quite possible for the Indian Sensex to climb up to as high as 20,000 by the end of this calendar year. But the fact remains that due to the liquid situation, the valuations of the Indian stocks is currently very high as compared to the Asian counterparts. So that is one area of concern that could possibly lead to some correction. And tomorrow will be a critical factor here, Manish, because tomorrow is Friday, which and people generally have a conservative trading trend on Fridays where you see selling action, some pressure building. So tomorrow will be a critical factor. It will definitely help the market analysts take a position as to where the markets are headed, whether it's a northward position, correction, or perhaps, again, range-bound trading for the next few weeks. Over to you, Manish.
Right. Thanks a lot, Ashmit, for that analysis. Of course, tomorrow happens to be an important day to see if this is a one-day-off phenomena or will this sustain. Thanks a lot, Ashmit Kumar, for joining us there. Now, as Madras Day is fast approaching, we bring you the sights and sounds of the history of our city, which was once Madras, and today we take you to one of the oldest schools in the city, always which has been identified with Madras but is now quite literally breaking down. Well, the reason? Lack of funds.
This school, one of the oldest in the city, was established in 1761. The madrasa was established as a center for education of the children of the royal family and for the development of Urdu, Arabic and Persian languages. Known as Umda Bagh, it was the palace of the widow of Nawab Ghulam Bahadur.
Na padchepo 53 la first class school is alla 3,000 people in the school.
The situation now is sadly different. With hardly 300 students, the building in the shape of a scorpion wears a haunted look. Visitors are cautioned by the manager at every step you take inside.
It is shameful to say that there is no metro water connection and drainage connection in this school. And then what happens, there is no proper classrooms. Policy of the government, education policy of government of Tamil Nadu is that only if the strength of the school increases, they will have it.
The school has always been a center of excellence in sports and still is. They are the state champions in hockey.
Nana hockey la சேர்ந்திருக்கேன், ஸ்டேட் போயிருக்கேன், ஸ்டேட் பஞ்சாப் லெவல் போயிருக்கேன். எனக்கு இங்க படிக்கிறது நல்லா இருக்கு.
The madrasa was recently declared a heritage building and managed to escape demolition by authorities. But cries for help remain unanswered. A visit by Public Works Department officials in July brought a ray of hope to its alumni, only to have it crushed by this usual comment, lack of funds. In Chennai, Pratiksha Ramkumar, NDTV Hindu.
Well, time for us to slip into a very short break. Up on the other side, she may be the Union Railway Minister, but Mamta Didi says she's just a clerk.
Railway Ministry is trying their best. I am nobody. I am just working as cleric clerk.
Well, and Roger Federer does a Robin Hood, and you just don't want to be on his receiving end.